Hey there, we're Shannon and Jerry Arner, your hosts of the Arner Adventures podcast.
We're a minimalist couple driven by intentional living and adventure.
Burned out from the 24/7 grind of running our business, we traded the hustle and the bustle for something more meaningful.
We parted ways with most of our belongings and moved to the coast.
Listen along as we chat about life's challenges, share inspiring stories of those who have taken big leaps to live a life outside of the norm,
and help you live with more intention and less physical and mental clutter.
Each episode is a step toward doing and being just a little bit better for ourselves and the world around us.
Life's an adventure after all. Join us for the ride.
It's the Arner Adventures podcast.
Hello, everybody. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Jerry.
And we are back for episode 142 of the Arner Adventures podcast.
Yeah, rolling right along. 142. Wow.
I know.
That is something.
Well, we are the second week of September. This is Suicide Prevention Month. So as with every episode that we have, we always want to make sure that we promote wellness and living your best life and all the things that keep you taking care of yourself, because nobody's going to take care of you the way you're going to take care of you.
That is correct, Shannon. And what's the... I don't think there's any better foundation of taking care of yourself than your sleep.
Nice segue.
Yeah.
Nice segue.
All right, thank you.
So yes,
it all starts with that, right?
It does start with that. And so this episode is really honing in on what we have found to be so beneficial with our sleep routine, our sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
And that is a beautiful voice named Aster Haile.
Aster Haile. Yeah, she's been with us now.
Since February.
Since February.
Mm-hmm.
We've been listening to her, and then we got to meet her.
Yeah.
This is great.
So we have had this scheduled for a little bit, and some things happened on our end. We had to reschedule, and so we finally did it, and we're so excited. And Jerry and I just got here ready to record.
Yeah. And, you know, I was here for, a few minutes, and then I wasn't feeling too good, and I ducked out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which was really sucked because you were so looking forward to talking to her.
Yeah. I just didn't feel good. All 61 points of my body were not feeling good.
Right. And you'll hear more about the 61 points during the episode. But This is a really great conversation with Aster. She is the head of wellness over at BetterSleep, and you'll get to know her and just some wonderful, wonderful things that she does and some great tips on sleep wellness. So enjoy the episode. Well, we're so excited to finally welcome our guest today, Aster Haile, to the podcast. Aster's the person who helps us get to sleep each night. Seriously, no joke. Aster began as a journalist, but found her true passion in wellness. Now she's the head of wellness at BetterSleep, where she's created hundreds of guided meditations, hypnosis sessions, and bedtime stories in both English and French. Her work reaching millions worldwide. One of her most popular creations is Starship 28, a bedtime story that takes you on a cosmic journey from the comfort of your bed. Aster's journey into wellness started with Buddhist studies and led her to use hypnosis as a natural childbirth tool. She's certified in mindfulness-based stress reduction and recently co-authored the 21-day sleep reset program at BetterSleep. Outside of her professional life, she's a mom, wedding planner, future hypnotherapist, and food lover who lives in Montreal with her family. We're not sure when she has time to sleep, but we'll find out. But we're thrilled to chat with her today. Aster, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We like to paint a picture for the audience and let them know where our guest is coming to us from. So I know we talked about where you live, but is that where you are today?
I am. I'm currently in the Montreal studio, where I record all of our sessions for the app. So,
Okay. I get a little intimidated when we have someone on who's like a podcaster or someone who does something with sound like you, because when we first started, we recorded these on our phone and we were just doing the best we could sitting in closets. And even now, like what I have is like in a back sort of storage room that we have, but they don't see you, but I can tell on the walls you have the soundproof stuff. So that makes sense.
we do. But I can also tell you that in my beginnings, my humble beginnings, we recorded, I had a tiny IKEA little desk with something that looked like a shower panel for soundproofing, and
Oh,
some of those meditations are still there, and, like, with the most basic mic you could imagine, so we all start somewhere, definitely.
okay. Okay,
Yeah.
well, then that makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
Well, we've told our audience, and if they've listened to other episodes and even our Instagram stories, we've talked about just they know, and if you're new here, then you'll know now that Jerry and I this past year lost our sweet Betty White, and she during that grief process, and we've talked about how much of a struggle that has been. One of the things that we've struggled a lot with was sleep. And even though we were grieving, we know how important sleep is, and there's almost like another pressure there because we know we need sleep, and then you start getting anxiety about it. And so it was a real
Okay.
struggle. And so we did share with people, oh my gosh, there's this app that we've been using, but we were like, if we could get the person who talks us to sleep every night on the podcast to talk about this. And I didn't even know at the time you were head of wellness or any of it. So this is a little surreal to have you on here.
I'm excited to be here too, thank you. I'm glad
Yes.
we're doing this.
Well, I would love it if you could tell us how you got started in sleep wellness. And I know had a little bit about your background, but what interested you specifically in sleep wellness? And then how did you become the head of wellness at BetterSleep?
Yeah, so it's 2 questions. So the first is how I got into this sleep wellness. I've always been fascinated by spirituality,
Mhm.
and I'm naturally curious. So I studied journalism, and in my university years, I took up studies, excuse me, Buddhism studies and even Christianity studies and the mystical aspect of all these religions, and I began meditating. Um, and so this followed me. It was my own personal practice, my own personal interests, which I did not put on a resume or anything like that.
Mhm.
But it became very personal for me when I had my first child. And the day after, I was diagnosed with perhaps a mortal spinal tumor. So
Mm.
I had to be operated, and that operation lasted 17 hours. I got 19 blood transfusions. I'm considered a medical miracle because none of the doctors at the time that were there, except for one in the province of Quebec where I live, had ever operated on something like that. So they were thinking, here's this brand new mom who perhaps is going to be paraplegic or die because we couldn't know what the tumor was like until we went in to see. So I made a full recovery. And it just made it even more real for me that it's all mind over matter
Mm.
because I had a very tangible reason to get better real fast because I had a newborn baby.
Mhm.
So rehab, physiotherapy, all that stuff. I made a full recovery, and then I became pregnant with my second son. And so it was clear at that point that I couldn't get the epidural, nor was the first time, by the way, because I had a tumor there, so that
Yeah.
wasn't working. And then that's when I discovered hypnosis. So I learned hypnosis for pain management during childbirth, and it was transformative for me. Um, and then I had 2 other boys, so I have 4 now,
Yeah.
and hypnosis and the spiritual aspects of my life have been part of everything that I do, really. And so I guess it's synchronicity because the head of talent here at Better Sleep came to get me while I was, years later, copywriter for a big company writing commercial ads,
Hmm.
um, asking me if I would like to join their very small team at the time to be a PR manager. And so I thought that was very interesting. It was wellness and, sure, why not? And one thing led to another into the role where I am today. And it's just been incredible because all the experiences that I've accumulated have led me to create this content and really help others. If it has helped me, could it help others? That was always my question.
What I think is really interesting is in this day and age where there's so much AI,
Mhm.
and even when we downloaded the app, which I'll just to tell our listeners, Jerry had left town and I was here by myself for the first time without Betty, without another being in the house. And so my mom came to stay and we were watching TV, and I just remember just being in the trenches of this grief, and this commercial came on. And at the time, it was sort of like it was now I know it was your voice, because you're in the green noise, hypnosis.
Hypnosis.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so it was your voice, and it sounds terrible. It's green noise. And then it played this green noise behind it, and something about the ad was talking about sleep, and it can help you sleep. And I was like, "What?" And I couldn't grab my phone fast enough. And so when the commercial was off, my mom and I were like, "What was it? What was it?" Found out it was the BetterSleep app, which is how we found it. And I searched green noise, and it came up, and you were narrating it, walking us through it. And I think in my mind, I just assumed like these narrator, and it even has all of your pictures. I think I just thought, this person's not real. It's probably just an AI tool and it's working.
Really?
And then that
Wow.
night it worked, and I slept for the first time in weeks. And so when Jerry came home, I was like, Okay, I have this trial, like, could you get some free time with it?" And I was like, "If it works, like, we're going to do this." And so we just stuck with you because you were working. And it worked for him, and he's known for having just trouble sleeping. And we've done it every night since. And she passed away in February, and we've not missed a night. We've even traveled, and we have it. And we our phones on do not disturb. The only thing that is allowed to get through is that app at night. And so then I found there's like a snippet somewhere on the app that you introduce yourself. And I saw you were a real person. And so now hearing your story, like how you got here, makes this, I think, even more important. It's more meaningful knowing that you're a real person. You got into it for a real reason, and
Yeah.
that this is your meaning behind doing it. I think it just puts even more reasoning and the impact behind the people who are reading to us, who are talking to us during or guiding us to sleep. It's just wonderful.
Yeah. And I think that that's it. That's how you can feel it. So all the material, 95% or 99% of the material you hear me with, I have written and I've researched. Um, and I think the difference between AI and real people is you can feel their presence in their
Mhm.
voice. Now, maybe AI will catch up
I hope
and
not.
will be able to do that. But it's just to be of service to others. Uh, all those experiences, the pain that, and my mom passed away as well 2 months after I had given birth to my first son. So I do
Oh.
understand grief, and I'm so, I'm both sorry for your loss, but also thankful that you were able to find relief and sleep. Because yeah, we lose sleep right away when we were grieving or we're going through any, distressing emotional state. Um,
Mhm.
and sleep is a pillar of our health, right? So
Yeah.
it's so, so important in order to recuperate from all the challenges of life. To have a good night's sleep is absolutely vital.
I'm sorry for your loss as well, and I guess that sort of leads me to, like, when you're creating these, what is that process like? Are you putting yourself in those shoes and going, "This is what I would need to hear?" Or are you looking at, like, studies, or how do you come up with this?
Yeah, so I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly learning. The Better Sleep is an app, so we're extremely data driven. We're looking at what our users enjoy. I'm constantly reading reviews from people, what they liked, what they didn't like. So if you leave a review inside our app, after our content, I will read it.
Mhm.
On the app stores, people leave reviews too. So we're just uh, always seeking to understand what users need and want. Aside from that, we're all human beings.
Yeah.
So I draw on my personal experience and I just try to put myself in people's shoes. Um, I haven't experienced everything in life, but I've done a thing or two. And so I understand grief. I understand, sadness. I understand pain. I understand the need to be comforted. And so I try to infuse this compassion into my writing as well as when I'm recording, and to just really be present with the text that I've created. A lot of times I'll write something and then I adjust it as I'm recording because it just this feels better. So I'll have a lot of those last minute changes as I'm recording, and just to think of those who will listen. How might
Mm.
that help them? Is that helpful? Is that annoying? And, in my beginnings, I also made learnings. I'm still learning every day. So, there are things, my first language is French. So there are things that I've learned to not make mistakes in pronunciation. I would have like one word mispronounced, and people would be like, oh my God, I'm thrown off because she pronounced it this way. So I really learned to always stay humble and apply people's feedback and try to do better to be of service to people always.
That's so beautiful. And I would have no idea that English was not your first language. I feel like a lot of, and this is probably ignorant because I don't even know, but it just seems like a lot of Canadians we have come in contact with also know French, right?
Yeah,
But I would have never thought that English was your second language. Yeah, I just didn't.
it is. I
That's
mean,
amazing.
the truth is that almost all English speakers have an accent. I mean,
Oh
with
yeah,
the ones
I'm
they have an
Southern. I have
accent,
an
it's just
accent.
exactly. So it's hard to but you'll catch it. Like I would say, for instance, instead of saying beloved, I would say beloved.
Mm-hmm.
But which sounds English, but it's not how you pronounce that word. So that's how I would be, people would catch me being like, "Oh." So,
That's
but yeah.
interesting. There's now that you're saying that, there not that I've noticed ways that you say things differently. You will say things in the, and I don't, it could be one of the sleep stories. It could be, I feel like it's the Egyptian sleep temple because I love that one. But it seems like you have said things that I never hear. And like you said something about time, and it's been known for time in memoriam. And I was like, whoa, like I time in
Adding in some
memoriam.
Latin in there, yes.
I was like, that is fancy talk. I don't think I've ever even heard anybody say that,
Oh my God, I
but
forgot
it's
about
so beautiful and it works. It's not like it throws me off or anything, but the whole what I wanted to talk about too when you were talking about what people would want to hear, and I do hear this a lot with like Jerry would admit this too. He has admitted this before, and I'm the same way. I think a lot of problems with people who have trouble sleeping is you can't shut your mind off from all of those things that
that.
you're ruminating on.
Yes.
What I love about the app, and I'm just going to say you as well because we only listen to you.
Oh,
We are creatures of habit. And again, if it's working with Aster, we just stick with Aster. But one of the things that you do really well is, and I just said this the other night. I said, what I love is I feel like my mind really starts to go in different places when I lay down finally, when I finally settle. And I feel like it's nighttime that my mind starts going to places that are more sad for me. Like
mhm.
I don't know if it's just a solemn time, if it's quiet, and I'll just start thinking about, oh, I remember when Betty was in our night routine and all these things about grief. And one of the things that's really great is you step us through bringing your mind back to this moment. And the breathing, like, again, I wouldn't even think that taking 3 deep breaths and concentrating your breath would be that meaningful, but now I'm sort of trained in a way that, "Oh, I need to make sure I do this," and you're guiding us or whatever you're going into it. It really works, and to me, that I love holistic wellness. I just love when I don't need it to, and I'm not downing someone that has to do that, but I just love that it's better than me and going and popping some melatonin or trying to find something for sleep. If I really work with my own body, my own mind, with you walking us through it, it just feels so rewarding, so empowering.
We have, I believe, this is my belief, we have a limitless amount of resources within us to make ourselves better, to improve ourselves in so many ways. And so when you talk about the breath, what I would like to say is that the breath is something that can only happen in the present moment. Like, you can't breathe a past breath, right? You can't
Mm,
breathe a future breath. So it's like when your mind is going off and you're thinking of the future or the past, remembering, and you've just said this so well, like you've conditioned yourself to be like, let me take a breather. This breath brings you back into the present. It's like we're here right now. And right now, in this moment, I'm breathing, I'm safe. There's nothing happening from the past or the future. And it can provide sort of like a buffer because thoughts always come back. You can't, you know,
mm-hmm.
they'll come back always. But creating that space between you and the next thought, and you can do this like endlessly. Another thought comes up, oh, let me stop. I'll just breathe and I will reconsider in 3 breaths. And it happens again. And you can come back to the present. You can do this
Mm,
nonstop. And over time, as you said, you train yourself and it becomes like second nature. And that has a huge impact on your nervous system, on your way of just apprehending problems or thinking of issues, because now you know that you have that tool and it's
mm-hmm.
free and it's yours. And it's also the reason why we're alive. We're talking to this is we're breathing. So as you're breathing, can you also think of how grateful you are because you're alive?
That reminds me, another one of the things that was on there, what, and 7-night gratitude meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was really impactful. I mean, there's so many resources on there that are one of the things that Jerry loves, and he was going to talk about this today, is the 61 point.
Deep
Um,
flow practice.
yes, he loves
Yes.
it. That's one that we've listened to over and over again. He's like, I don't know why. I'm like, he'll go, when did we listen to that again? I'm like, it was last night, but I mean, we can do it again if you want. And so he'll say, well, I don't know what it is. It keeps my mind off of other things and makes me concentrate on the different parts of my body. And that works really well for him. Whereas, like I said, the Egyptian sleep temple is my favorite. And I can put my mind as if I'm there. And as if, like, as you're walking us through, now the boat is made specifically for you, and all of that. And it makes me realize too that there was a set reason that I was not sleeping well, and that people don't sleep well, because it really is that mindful breathing and having a different mindset when you go to bed, rather than this scary or sad place. It's just like setting the intention that I'm going to sleep well. And you do such a great job of walking us through that.
Absolutely. And just to speak on the difference between that Egyptian temple piece and the 61 part piece, um, I would have loved to ask Jerry if is he good at visualizing? Does he visualize things
He
easily?
well, I would say that he does, but he's whenever we're talking about, like, listening to music, he listens I listen more to lyrics and can do that, but he listens more to the music part. So, I know that we've talked about it with music, and I don't know if the audio, I just know that he will concentrate more. He has said he will concentrate more on the different parts of his body, where I do something different. It's like I'm listening to your voice, I'm sort of just getting a feeling of, like, my body, but I don't even think about all the different parts like he does.
Yeah, so he may be more of a kinesthetic. So when we think of the five senses, some people will, be more attached to sound. Some people will be more visual, and some people will be more sensory. And so the 61 points really speaks to that part of him where
Oh.
he's feeling, he likes to, think of that sensation. Whereas for you, it's more what you can visualize and visually transport yourself to another time and place,
Mhm.
imaginary. So it's interesting. That's why we have so many different types of contents, right? So some are more it's in a way to anchor your senses. So the
Ah,
61 point piece will anchor your body senses, and other pieces like the Egyptian content
uh-huh.
will help you visualize
That's so
depending.
interesting.
Yeah. We also have a better sleep when you're thinking of auditory. So a lot of our users prefer sounds, right? They just want to listen to a few favorite sounds at night. And so that may speak to many things, but for instance, that green noise hypnosis is backed by the green noise itself. And so if you're someone who really doesn't like to hear a lot of stuff when you're about to sleep, you may not like that piece. But then if you're into music and you're more of an auditory person, if I could say it that way,
Yeah.
that will appeal to you much more.
I will tell you, that's so interesting because I've never been someone who could go to sleep with music on songs or the TV, like, I never. And
Me
Jerry's not
neither.
really that person either. So, I was thinking when I downloaded the app that night, I was thinking, "This isn't gonna work for me because I'm gonna be paying attention to her," and then it did. But I will tell you, and now we don't have any problem, but some nights, if Jerry once in a while we usually go to sleep at the same time so we can experience having Aster talk to us at the same time. But, and I told Aster this before we got on here, but we always say, "Are you ready to queue up Aster?" And,
I
and
love it.
ask Aster if she's ready to go. And so we'll get her going. But one of the things that I've done is if he wants to read some more, he can't have you on talking to us, so I will put on the noise. I'll put on and you can adjust the different sounds, so sometimes it's raining and,
Right.
by an ocean or any of that, so I love that, and I also have it where when the meditation or hypnosis or bedtime or whatever we're listening to is finished, it goes into the tailored sound that we've created, and it just does it all night, and we love it. Oh gosh, we love it.
Oh, that's amazing. And what are your sounds? I'm curious now to know.
So there's a mix, and I just call it, I think I call it the Arner mix because you can name it when you save it. It's
Mhm.
a little bit of, I think it's wind and trees, and then rain or yeah, rain. And then there's a third one that says something about Cascade Falls or something or falls. So it's a mix of the three. And then I just kind of adjust it exactly like I want it.
And that's your ticket to sleep, right?
That's our ticket. So sometimes I'll fall asleep in the middle of the meditation or hypno or whatever we're listening to with that. It's weird because I'm trying to make a different word than what we call it. So I normally say, well, sometimes I'll fall asleep in the middle of Aster. And so I wake up and I go, oh my, like if I wake up to turn over or whatever, I go, oh, I didn't even hear the rest of Aster in that one. But I hear that our noise is on and I go, well, it worked. And I turn over and go back to sleep. So,
That's amazing.
yeah, and I wanna make sure I add this, something that's so helpful, and when we were traveling, this worked, is that, you're traveling, you're in a different bed or whatever, and we were listening to one of them, and it was over, and we both woke up to some noises or something in the middle of the night, and we were awake. And there is also one that you do about getting back to sleep, and it's specifically I don't
Yes.
even remember what it's called, but it's
Back to
specific.
sleep hypnosis.
My
Or
god!
there's another one, I think, SOS backed. I've done 2, I
Ye
believe.
I mean, and then that works, and then we go, "She knows what we're dealing with." Like, how does she know
Love
what
it.
we're dealing with? And so, again, it's just putting this personal level that when you're creating this and you're recording it, you're actually thinking about what someone would be going through if they had woken up and started stressing out about how they can't get back to sleep.
Mhm.
It's just
Yes,
amazing.
absolutely. I mean, so this is where research and studying comes into play, right? So you can see what are the major or the main causes rather for lack of sleep, sleep issues, and for several people is they could fall asleep, but then they wake up. They
Mhm.
wake up at a certain time, and it seems to become like a habit that the body just somehow records, and then the person wakes up at the same time, so how do you go back to sleep?
Yeah.
So it's answering these issues that many of us face.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. Jerry's that person. He does that a lot, but now it just seems like with the noise we have, it's sort of working in the background and he's able to sleep better. But what do you think some common misconceptions about sleep wellness are? I do feel like maybe like most things with mental health or anything else with our wellness that and even in recent years the importance of meditation and mindfulness. What do you think some misconceptions are? Like I immediately think people think it's a trendy thing. That
Mhm.
annoys me so much because I'm like, no, we've had these struggles for years. There's just actually more talk about it or more resources. But are there others that you frequently encounter?
There are quite a few, but for me, the main misconception is that good sleep starts in the evening, but good sleep really starts in the morning. Sleep is one of the pillars of health. It really is. And we spend one third of our lives sleeping. And so when you wake up in the morning, how are you going through your day? How are you navigating through your day? Are you confronting negative thoughts, or are you kind of like pushing them down and waiting for them to resurface at night? Like,
Mm,
how are you taking care of your health? When are you eating? Are you eating at 10 p.m. to go to bed at 11?
mhm,
So, people don't realize that, first of all, it's part of us. So I would like to, if I had a message to tell everyone, is good sleep is part of you. You can achieve good sleep. Every human can sleep well. There are just many elements that sort of sometimes come into our minds that prevent us from realizing this. And not just our minds, but our bodies as well.
mhm,
So, really thinking of all these elements and having a good routine, not just a sleep routine, but a good life
mhm,
routine. What's your hygiene like? Do you work out? Do you eat well? What are you eating? What are you drinking? Um, and then how are you releasing that tension, the mental tension, the physical tension? All that plays into how you'll sleep well at night. And
mm.
it's major, really.
Well, that leads me to the question I was gonna ask you, but now I don't think I'm gonna say night routine. I would love to know sort of what your own sleep, if you don't mind sharing, your own
Sure.
sleep wellness routine and maybe some of the practices that you have into place to make sure that you achieve a restful night's sleep. What does Aster do to make sure that she sleeps well?
Well, contrary to belief, I'm a very early morning person. I wake up around 5 a.m.
Uh-huh.
Uh, that's just the way I am with my circadian rhythm, if you will.
Mhm.
So I tend to go to sleep at around 10, no later than that. Even if I try, my eyes start to like go down, I just fall asleep. Um, so consistently, I go to bed no later than 10. I wake up around 5 every day. Uh, then my bedroom is my special haven. It's like my sanctuary.
Mhm.
So everything in there I love, and with my fiancé, we're very lucky to have a house with several bedrooms, so everyone can have their bedroom. We're a blended family, and so
Uh-huh.
the way it started out was that he would sleep in a bedroom close to his daughter when we have her,
Yeah.
and then the same for me with the boys. But as it turns out, it's perfect because we each have our own sanctuary, and then when we don't have the kids, we're very happy and we find ourselves together. So I got to decorate my room the way I like it. I have my perfect mattress, my perfect bed sheets that I love.
Uh-huh.
And there's really nothing in there except the stuff that make me feel at peace.
Right.
So from the lighting to the color of the walls to the carpet on the floor to the smells.
Mm.
Um, I have books that I love reading by my bedstand, like my nightstand.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it's really my own little environment.
Mhm. That sounds amazing. I
It
do think that
is.
we do a good job of, and we do call our bedroom our sanctuary too. Like we don't watch TV in there. We don't allow electronics. We always say we're putting our phones to bed until we got this app, but I do now put it on do not disturb and nothing gets through except for that app. But we do try to have a really good sleep hygiene, if you will. I think
Mhm.
that we do a good job, but hearing you talk about the routine, and we're very routine. So to hear you say that makes us feel like we're on the right track.
Oh, yeah, definitely, and again, it goes back to your example of when you said, I've trained myself,
Mhm.
with these taking these breaths. You can condition yourself to doing a whole bunch of stuff. So if you attach meaning to when I brush my teeth, it means I'm going to bed. Over time, when you're conscious about that in your mind over time, well, that's what happens. Your mind starts to, gently winding down because it's like, "Oh, brushing teeth means going to sleep soon." So this is hypnosis really, but, it's classic conditioning, and anyone can achieve that.
Oh, I love it, and I'm glad you talked about that is hypnosis. I think a lot of misconceptions people can think about is hypnosis. Oh, are they gonna, have me think, do something I'm not supposed to, just making your brain do something that you don't even know about, and but that conditioning is a great definition that comes
Yeah.
out of that.
I mean, it's part of it, but truth be told is that we all experience hypnosis every single day. So whenever you're commuting from point A to point B, you don't even think of how you got there, right? Because it's your subconscious that's doing the work. And so
Yeah.
a lot of these automated actions are a form of hypnosis. You're in a altered state of consciousness, we'll say. You've had no accidents. You've done it properly. You've driven yourself to work without thinking. That was a state of trance, right? So
Mm.
when you're watching a movie or you're listening to a piece of music that you're fully immersed in, you're in a state of trance again. And so when we can, access this state with a specific intention of really, for me, it's limitless. There's so
Mhm.
many things that you can accomplish because that is a state of receptivity. You're receptive to changes that you may be resistant of normally because your ego is talking to you. Oh no, that's not going to work. That's not. But when you're
Mhm.
in a very deeply relaxed state of trance, if I put it that way, you're much more easily acceptant of like so many things. So like you'll sleep well. Oh yeah, I'll sleep well. And then you do, you know.
That goes with that
So
intention, the intention, like, you have us walk through the intention on a lot of these, and it's like, "Oh," and you do say in your mind, I'm gonna have a full night's." I don't even know what you say, something about I'm going to have a full night's sleep, or sleep really I'm gonna be feel really rested in the morning, and
correct, yeah.
knowing that I'm gonna set that intention instead of my mind going off to all the other things that I don't wanna think about is so helpful. Well, I feel like we should get to your fast 5 questions. This or that, it's just a way for us to get to know you a little bit better. It's sort of tailored for you. So, the first one is morning meditation or bedtime story?
Morning meditation for me.
Okay. Number 2, narrating your own stories or listening to someone else's?
Hmm. Oh, I love to listen to other voices too. It's so great to receive. So I would say listen to others, definitely.
Follow up with that, do you ever listen to your own?
No. I
Yeah.
mean, I have a quick story on that if you want to
Yeah,
hear it, but
please.
my kids love my stories. In the beginning, I was playing them and they wouldn't go to sleep. This is a few years ago, they were younger. And I said, I will play a story and we're all going to sleep together in the playroom, like to make a special night. So they all lie down, all four of them, the boys. And I start playing the story. Now it's like it's my voice, and I don't like to hear myself, but I know they do.
Yeah.
It's a starship story.
Uh-huh.
And so one of them starts to argue with the other. Then the other one begins. I'm like, shh, go to sleep, shh. And next thing you know, because I'm not perfect and I'm no meditation guru, I'm like, "Quiet, go to sleep," and then you hear me on the speaker being like, "Dear stargazers," and so it was so funny to hear myself while also telling my kids, "Go to sleep now," you know? So,
Oh my
yeah,
god, that's
in those
funny.
instances, I definitely enjoy listening to other super talented voice actors for sure.
Right, right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, number 3, planning a wedding or cooking a big family meal?
Definitely cooking a big family meal. I cook
Mm.
for 7 to 10 people multiple times a week. It's one of my passions. I do it when I'm stressed. I just go in the kitchen, put on some music, and I start cooking. So it's definitely something I adore doing.
Oh, good.
Planning a wedding. So I'm getting married next summer.
Oh,
Uh,
congrats.
thank you. With the love of my life. And so we're
Uh-huh.
very, very happy. But don't I wish that someone would just arrive, be like, boom, it's all
Mm,
planned and you have nothing else to do.
yes.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
so definitely.
Okay, okay, that's exciting. Okay, number 4, the perfect day. St. Lawrence River or Mount Royal, and I don't know if it's Mount Royal or Royale. I don't know how you say it, but which would you
Yeah.
prefer?
So in English, we say Mount Royal, in French, we'll say Mont Royal.
Uh,
I would say St. Lawrence River
uh-huh.
because I adore the old port of Montreal. It's on the
Mm.
water. It's the most European city in North America if ever you want to visit.
Yeah.
And just to be by the water. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, that's why we moved here to the coast of North Carolina because we wanted to be by the ocean, and it's so
Uh,
healing, and I just feel like it does wonders for us. There's so many studies on it, but we just love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure.
Okay, number 5, a warm cup of herbal tea or cozying up with a soft blanket?
Probably cozying up with a soft blanket. I
Mhm.
love herbal teas, but I love coffee even more.
Do you know I was gonna ask coffee or tea, and I was like, "She probably doesn't drink coffee."
Oh, so I've done these, like, 6 months caffeine free. I've tried so many things.
Yeah.
But my dad is Ethiopian and coffee runs in our blood,
Mm.
so we adore
Yeah.
coffee. I
Okay.
try to limit myself, and
Yeah.
herbal tea is something I recommend to everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, cozying up with a blanket would be my choice between the 2.
And you probably have a really great cozy soft blanket on your bed, right?
I have
Or in your
yeah,
bedroom?
I do actually, yes, I
Okay.
do.
Okay.
And on our couch, our sofas, we have
Yeah.
always cushions and blankets everywhere.
Yeah, that's how we are. Okay, and this is the question we ask everyone, and we would love to ask it of you, is Aster, what does a life well lived mean to you?
A life well lived, to me, what it would mean is really doing something where I feel like I'm evolving, but also that I am of service to others. That sense of self-fulfillment, that is to me a life well lived. I have this innate belief that we're not here for ourselves, we're here for others. And so if we have gifts to share them with others for their betterment is a way to fulfill ourselves but help others. And to me that is really a life well lived.
Oh, Aster, you're living it because you've impacted us with your gift, and I mean, I would have never even, we wouldn't be talking now if your gift hadn't impacted us in such a great way that I think other people should know about it and know about the app. And so if that is any solace to you, I want you to know that you have impacted us in such a wonderful, healing way, and you continue to.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Of course. Hey, so I would love it if you could tell our audience where they can find you, how they can access better sleep, all of that.
Sure. So find me on Instagram. I'm not very good at posting. I don't post that often, but Aster Justine Haley is where you'll find me. The app, you can find it on the App Store, on iOS App Store or Android Google Play, and it is the Better Sleep app. You can also find it online at bettersleep.com.
Okay. I love it because there's so many search filters, and you can put like, if I want to hear a hypnosis tonight, if I want to hear a bedtime story, you can search for all of that. And it's so great. And then you can mark your favorites, and that's what we do. And because we're routine and creatures of habit, although we do try some different stuff here and there. So that's really great. But we're going to link all of that down in the show notes so that people can access those. And we're just so grateful that you took your time to be with us and to talk with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Shannon. It was really fun talking with you.
Yeah, well, that was wonderful. I wish I could have been there for the whole thing, but of course I got to hear it.
Yep.
And as always, I feel like it's always the best one.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, I could have talked to her for so much longer, but I wanted to be mindful of her time. She was absolutely wonderful, did not disappoint. I mean, wouldn't it have really been terrible if like we love her so much in her voice and then she just got on there and was just terrible? Yeah. She was wonderful. She was even more beautiful of a person talking to her in real life. It was absolutely the perfect conversation to match my expectations of her.
Oh yeah. No, me too. It was it lived up to the billing.
And I think sort of my big takeaway is knowing that there is truly a person who has a deep yearning to help people. Like, she wants to be of service. And I think that means so much more, to now listen to her at night on our app and just knowing that, yeah, we do feel like she really wants us to get sleep, and she's been there and she knows what we're going through. It just humanized it so much, and I loved it.
She's probably the first person who we were that familiar with so long before we interviewed her. We were familiar with people, but we were listening to her every night for the last 6 or 8 months.
Yeah, we've not missed a night.
Yeah.
It was like I was telling her, we listen to her when we travel. I mean,
that voice has been there in our heads, and then we got to meet her, and she was
you got a brief meeting with her before you got sick. I wish you could have been there to talk about the 61-point deep flow.
My favorite.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what did you think about what she was saying about wondering if you're a visualization person?
Yeah, I guess so. That makes sense, because I'm sitting there and I think the thing with that too is I go through everyone, and the 61 points, y'all, are she'll say, imagine your right elbow relaxing. I don't know if she says
no, she says purple. Let's see.
Oh, it's purple.
Purple point. Something about a purple point on your elbow. Your right elbow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it comes down to your right elbow. And I'll sit there and I'll just think about my right elbow, and I'll kind of move it. Your right pinky. And I think about it. And
I don't know if she says pinky. Or does she say fifth finger?
Maybe fifth finger.
I don't know. If she says pinky, that would make me happy.
She says index. She says middle. She says thumb.
No, I think she says fourth finger.
She might.
And then fifth finger. I don't know, but now we're going to pay attention to it tonight for the 5th night in a row that we've listened to it.
No time to get bogged down in details. So, but anyway, I go through it with her, and I like that there's 61 of them. Sometimes I don't make it. I fall asleep, but I think that gets me thinking about just not thinking about other things, and it just it's pretty neat. It's a neat little transition to all your little body parts.
It is.
And I'm thinking, well, if my left ring finger is ready for sleep, so am I. And it kind of works that way for me. Yeah.
I told her about the Egyptian sleep temple that I love, and there's so many of them that I love. But anyway, we hope that you really enjoyed this conversation. We hope that you will try out the BetterSleep app. I failed to see what the trial is, but there is a free trial you can have. And you're going to listen to it, whether you listen to Aster or any of the other narrators, but you're going to love it so much, you're going to go ahead and get the app, and it's totally worth it. I mean, it's just so worth it that it has improved our sleep. It is just so wonderful. And you know what? The best part of this is we got to meet Aster, this wonderful, beautiful person. And we would have never even known about her if we had never listened to the app.
Oh, no. And that's what's neat about what we do. And this was really unusual to have heard her for 6 months or so and then meet her like this. So that was really neat for us.
And like she said, mind over matter, and just how many powers we have within ourselves, that we can do things ourselves. We just might need some training, some conditioning to work on those things. But yeah, I loved everything, all the lessons that I took from it.
Me too. If this episode resonated with you, or if you know of someone who would benefit from what we talked about, please share it with a friend.
It's a great way of supporting the podcast, and we really appreciate it.
Another way of supporting the pod is by leaving us a 5-star review or rating on the platform you are listening to us on.
And go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That also supports us. You can always find us, the show notes, and sponsors who support the podcast at arneradventures.com.
And until next time, enjoy the journey you're on. We're wishing you lots of adventures.
Bye-bye.